tell you one thing that I've found out. Tesla lies. You probably don't believe this, but Tesla lies. They understate continuously. Continuously. We've been doing testing and whatnot. And they say, oh yeah, we're using this. And then we go over with our little spectrometer and go, beep. Oh no, it ain't. That is super deluxe stuff. I mean, they understate a lot. This stuff doesn't react like that. Watch this.
In this video, we gathered a few highlights from an interview that the experts of all experts, Sandy Munro, did. I promise, you're going to hear and see some insane stuff in this video. So, let's begin.
We looked at the difference between the Tesla 3 and the Tesla Model Y. There's a ton of things that we suggested that they put in place. We gave an Excel spreadsheet to one of the fellows at Tesla, and it had 250 suggestions on how to reduce cost or how to make the product easier to build and whatnot. Some of them were really obvious, where I really panned the back end of the Model 3 and said, this is ridiculous. It was over 100 parts and operations that were going on, and who knows how many different kinds of fastening. I said, this is baloney. This should be one part. And then there was the bucket, where the trunk bucket. And I said, this should be, you know, a plastic case. And so when we got the car, you've got two parts, two massive parts, the two mega castings. And then you've got a couple of brace brackets that hold the two together, and a few fasteners, and boom, you're done. And not only did they take care of the stuff that I said should be one part, they actually incorporated the shock mounts and spring mounts and the suspension locations, and I mean all kinds of stuff came when they went and did the mega casting. And the bucket actually was made out of plastic. I loved it. In fact, we were talking about it, and I said, and this is the way I want to have things assembled. And I just threw it, and it just and it went right in. I mean, it doesn't get much easier for an operator than to just toss the parts together. Actually, we did that 3 times, and it worked every time. So having something like that, that's good design. So I'm really pleased with the amount of work that I saw done on the Model Y. It makes a significant difference.
The thing you saw there is just the beginning. Tesla takes the research and development sector very seriously. This is why Sandy says all the time that Tesla is light years ahead of everyone else.
Is that a normal rate of change? So, I mean, like, you had all the suggestions and you saw many of them implemented, but in your career with Big Auto, is that normally that fast that they would be able to implement them?
No, it's not. Normally there's change boards and all kinds of things that would have to go through. But I can tell you some things that I know were done that made huge changes to the Model Y that were implemented on the Model 3. So that kind of running kinds of changes where, hey, I think we should do this differently, or hey, why don't we take some advice from some of the owners or maybe Munro, and let's do this. And implementing them as quickly as they did, that doesn't happen. That'll get you fired. There's no question about it. By the way, I know about getting fired. I was fired 3 times at Ford. They hired me back after somebody else proved, well, actually, I didn't actually get the boot out the door. My immediate bosses wanted to fire me 3 times for what I thought were good ideas.
For being right?
You're not, there's a lot of stuff you're not supposed to. Okay, so when I first went to Ford Motor Company, there weren't a lot of computers. And I was working at Engine Division, and I found out I bought my own computer, actually, and I brought it to work because we didn't have one there. So anyways, I found out, hey, you know what? If I push my, one of these coax cables into my computer, I can get to the finance page. And if I get to the finance page, I can find all the money that's left over from these projects. And if I can find that, and I put enough of them together, then, take them from this column and put them into my column, then I could buy a whole new machine for somebody who's got a problem on the factory floor. You get fired for that one.
Nah, this guy has a different kind of balls.
They didn't like that at all. There was a lot of problems with that. And then I still at Engine Division, and I went to Cleveland, and they were having a lot of problems with cylinder head bolts. And so I said, well, what you need is a feeder. Well, we tried. We can't get it. Really? So I was a machine tool designer before I went to Ford. So I said, I'll draw it up. So I did. I drew up a feeding system so it would eliminate like 4 or 5 guys on the line and make it so that the bolts would drop in automatically and whatnot. But then you got to buy all the parts. Okay, they didn't have any money for buying parts. So another thing you're not supposed to do, I bought spare parts. So I bought a great big giant hopper, which will never wear out, but I bought that as a spare part. And then 4 inline feeders. You're not supposed, they never wear out. Then the feeding equipment and on and on and on. So it was all built with spare parts, parts that we bought from suppliers in that community. So anyway, I got it all done and it's working. We did it over a holiday. I can't remember, Easter or something like that. And we're standing there watching it and the plant manager drove by. He said, what's that? He almost dropped a cigar right out of his mouth. He was very surprised to see that there was a new bright green machine up there. That'd get you fired. And I don't want to go on all the stories, but at the end of the day, you can get fired a lot of different ways by trying to do the right thing.
I'm not gonna lie, this saying from Sandy is more than just true. You can get fired for doing the right thing. Sometimes I think that these car companies are leading themselves to a cliff, and they know that they're heading down a cliff, but they still keep going. Anyways, if you're going to take any of this, I want you to know that this is just another point of advantage to Tesla. They're just obsessed with improving their cars in a way that none of us can even imagine.
Well, and that is the difference, right? Because Elon talks about how he rewards that kind of behavior, whereas it does sound like Big Auto doesn't.
Actually, you won't find any companies that are really thrilled with having a wild dog helping out. Okay, so it's very, very difficult. Now, I will tell you one thing. When I started the company, almost everybody that came here was one of those kind of guys that got fired. And so Dan McCarthy was being let go. He was the first guy I hired in. Tom Short, he quit before they fired him. I mean, all the old guys that started, well, they were young then, but everybody that started with Munro was a wild dog. And that's what you need for innovation. But if you're looking at a company that's got, rigid rules, we have to do things this way and no other way, and we've got all these cadences that we have to adhere to and whatnot. So it's a little different. They're just trying to keep it so that they can keep everybody in line. But Tesla doesn't work like that at all.
And another point, in my opinion, Tesla will be far behind if they didn't have a CEO like Elon Musk. The guy literally tells his employees and engineers that if your goal at my company is not to innovate and create new ideas and find new ways to develop, you will get fired. This is the kind of CEO that we want in any other company, not just Tesla.
To me, this is brilliant design. Now, it doesn't look like much more than about a complicated plastic injection molding, but the octo valve and these other components, these things right here, this is brilliant. This isn't a mechanical design. This is an electric circuit board that someone has just puffed up and put together. So when you look at this stuff from just the outside, you can't really tell much. So these things have all been CT scanned. By CT scanning, it means I can go and I can look inside. What's going on inside this thing? Now, the actual octo valve is still being X-rayed because that's what a CT scan is. And so I don't have it here with me, but you have to really see how this thing works. And the only way that you can see it is either by taking it apart and looking at it, or better yet, take a picture or an X-ray, shift the valve. It has 4 basic sections. Shift the valve, and then you can see lots of stuff. And then if you have all the rest of the stuff that goes with it, so this is where, right here, is where the octo valve is located. And then these are the 2 electric motors that, or pumps rather, that drive the whole system. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We thought that the super bottle was brilliant. This is way better because this will give you extended range. Heating and cooling sucks a lot of energy out of the product, out of the batteries. And this makes a gigantic difference between this and PTC heaters, the little electric heaters that the people are putting in. And then having a look at the Jaguar I-Pace that has the heat pump, sad. It's sad.
Here is what Elon said about this.
You can think of like a factory like a CPU or like a microchip or something like that. And you bring the circuits closer together, you increase the clock speed, and then you can calculate some theoretical limits for the output of a given silicon fabrication technology. I think the same is true of factories. So if you actually look at the volumetric efficiency and the velocity of automotive factories there, volumetric efficiency is extremely low. The speed is much slower than walking speed.
This is a little bit complicated, I know. But anyways, let's continue.
So you're saying that basically the Octavalve completely outdoes the Jaguar I-Pace.
Absolutely. Not only that, the Jaguar I-Pace is like about 4 times the amount of space claim. The amount of space you have to claim inside the vehicle in order to put it together. And it's all, here's one part over there, here's a part over here, here's a part down here. This thing is all together. So that's better because everything then is instantaneous. Everything's close together, so I don't have wire harnesses. I mean, even as it is right now, the difference between Tesla's wire harnesses, especially the high voltage lines, and everybody else's is like night and day. There's so much more harnessing and whatnot on every other vehicle. It doesn't matter which one it is. I'm going to tell you something. We're selling this reports, right? Not one North American car company has purchased the product. However, the Japanese, the Koreans, the Chinese, and even one European company, they're buying it. That kind of scares me.
I got one question. How dumb you have to be as a company not to go, hey Sandy, you already have all of the stuff. The Tesla is doing better than us. Give us those reports so we can improve our vehicles. That would be a great idea. We would really like to know how to improve the safety at our cars and improve the heating and the cooling system. I think you get the full idea here. So why the F are these companies not buying these reports from Sandy? In this video,